Hello, 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 hello. Okay, looks like we're back in action. Welcome to the stream. Let me just double check and make sure that we are indeed live really quick. Let's see here. Because I would hate to have to do this all over again. Innovation. Uh, Still not popping up. That's right. AI did. No. There we go. 24 subscribers. Okay, so we are live. Okay, guys, so welcome in. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. So what we're going to be doing here today is talking about, let me close this. So what I want to do today is just simply talk about where I've been. So a little bit of my background. I am a former CVS software engineer. I was working for CVS Health back in October of 2024. I had left that position to just due to some health reasons, due to the stress of the job, and just due to wanting to pursue more opportunities in innovative tech areas such as blockchain, AI, and things of that nature. And here we are today. And, the reason, and immediately after, I haven't really been uploading content since October. And the reason for that being is that I have been very heavily invested in the blockchain as far as building products and building applications, some of which I may mention via my platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn. And sometimes, I don't mention those products just because I keep the Web3 and Web2 areas very separate. And if you don't know what Web3 and Web2 is, Web2 describes the internet as it stands today. Web1 would probably be the internet prior to the internet when you're like dialing up. And Web3 is more of like the internet as it pertains to like the blockchain and decentralized technology. So, and if anyone has any more information to expand on that, please feel free to do so in the comments to add on to. But that's just a summation of what it is in the gist, in my own words, right? So moving forward, um, let me see what happened to the feed here. Let's see. Let me just make sure we haven't lost quality. Let's see. Okay, so you can still see the feed. Okay, why can't I see it on my screen? Okay, so it's there. Okay, cool. Just have to make sure. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna start doing these lives every single day. I'm going to give you guys a live stream, and actually, we're going to be doing some coding. That's another thing I want to talk about is the fact that I see a lot of YouTube channels that create content don't actually show you guys how to code and how to build or what to do. So we're going to use this live. I'm actually sitting here. I have my LinkedIn opened up right now. As you can see, I have a bunch of notifications, a bunch of messages that I haven't even responded to. And those are probably more than likely those are job offers or potential offers for work. And a lot of you guys might be, I know some of you guys who might be inside of the engineering or developer space or field, and some of you are aspiring engineers or developers, right, who may be teaching yourselves, or you may be in a boot camp or something like that. But what I'm trying to say essentially is you know uh it just kind of left my brain, to be honest. But what I'm essentially trying to say is that a lot of you guys might see all of these messages and think like, oh man, like you're getting all of these messages or whatever, and you don't even like check and and trying to get up on these opportunities. And I'm kind of like, and you might be sitting from your perspective thinking like I'm super hungry for a job, or I wish I had that many messages in my inbox or whatever the case may be. But I'm here to tell you that being an engineer. Okay, so first off, let's focus on a few key areas, right? So let's talk about software engineering and web development and having a job versus creating products. Okay, because a lot of you guys, I see you guys, you get this skill and you guys say, okay, I have this skill. I'm a software engineer. I'm a web developer, right? I did a boot camp. I have this skill. I feel good. Great. But then you go immediately looking for jobs, right? And you might feel like, hey, it's taking a long time. I'm not getting any callbacks, whatever the case may be. I'm not getting anybody viewing my resume. And so you might get discouraged, right? Or you might start to think that, oh man, this is harder than I thought it would be, right? Nobody wants to hire me and I have this new skill. But the thing you're discounting is that you're new, you know, you're new and you've just obtained this skill. So you're new. It's just like walking into a building and you're new, it's your first day of work. And you're new. So you have to get acclimated to what's going on and what people are doing and how they're doing them and things like that. So this isn't like a regular McDonald's job to where it's like, oh, you're gonna have 2 weeks of training. When you're getting hired for these developer and engineering, I know when you're getting hired for these roles, a company is expecting you if they're gonna pay you 5 to 6 figures, right? And that's 60K to 100K. I'm expecting something. I'm expecting you to come to the table with something, right? I'm expecting you to come to the table, not just with the skill. I want you to know, okay, the process of software development, right? So, for example, the software development lifecycle, right? So that means developing a project from greenfield or inception all the way to the product being pushed out into production and having live customers, right? And being supported by you still. So you and a lot of you guys don't have that experience just because you have never built an app. You have never built, not app. And when I say app, I don't mean like mobile app. I mean, you've never built any kind of application or any kind of tool, right? Whether it be a website, front end stuff is a bit different, right? And you can build a front end UI based website that just displays some data very easily, right? I can pull up an IDE called CodePen right now, and I can develop a website in 5 minutes, all front end based with some cool effects and scrolling animations and things of that nature, right? With just basic JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. Now, when you want to go beyond that and building applications, that's when you need to incorporate some sort of a backend, right? Because you're making API calls. And then you need to incorporate some sort of a database if you're saving data, right? Then we get into, okay, now you have an application, but is it is it is the application viable for a portfolio, or is it viable enough to actually have users? So, and there's a big difference between this is getting into, I might make this a separate video, but this is getting into products versus projects. And let me define both of these for you guys. I think I've actually stated this in another video I made, but I forget the name of that video. But we'll make a separate video kind of getting more into this. So a product, or let's start with a project as it pertains to software engineering and web development. A project is something you build, whether it be a website or an application, that is meant to serve as a portfolio piece. It's meant to serve as something that is going to go on your portfolio for someone to say, hey, or for you to say, hey, look, I built this as an example, right? It doesn't do anything, right? It might, let's say you built a calculator app or something like that, right? A calculator for calculating mortgage loans or something like that, right? And that's what the app does, or what the website does. You go in there, you enter in some information, and you can get a calculation of what your potential mortgage loan interest rate might be, or something like that. Just as an example, right? This is this is still a project at this stage, right? Because number one, is there a way for users to number one, is it monetized? That's number one. Is the app monetized in some sort of way? And if it's a free app that you're just building just for the sake of, cool. But if I'm a company and I'm looking at hiring you, I want to know what you've built that people actually use or want to use, right? I'm not looking for what you've built that's like, oh, I built this as an example, or this is a cool calculator. And if I go look for other mortgage loan, APY, or interest calculators, then I can go and Google that and Google for more of these. And if I find like more than 10 or find a bunch more and your tool is just among all of these, what problem did you really solve besides just proving to me that you can build something that's already been built 100 times? So that's more of so like if you guys are wondering why you aren't getting hired because you have projects on your portfolio and you have your bootcamp experience, right? And nobody's giving you a chance. Nobody's giving you a chance because there's engineers like myself who are self-taught and who maybe didn't even do a boot camp, but we might be contributing to open source repositories, right, in a meaningful way. So meaning we're breaking up every day, contributing to a project or a company as if we already work there. That's what contributing means when you contribute on GitHub, when you contribute to a project. It's the same thing as you working for free. So that holds way more weight than you saying, "Oh, let me build an example calculator project, or let me build an example this, or a clone of Google, or whatever." Those are all just examples. They don't prove anything. They don't really show that you can do anything that the company might need you to do. For example, can you migrate um a company from, let's say, a cloud is all of the talk of the town right now. So can you migrate a company's technology or a company's infrastructure, for example, from PCF to Azure, or from um, traditional, on-prem data centers, on-premises, which meaning like, in-person data centers, right? That means having all of your data being and infrastructure being set up in a physical location, right? That you control as far as the company. Or what if they want to migrate those things to the cloud, right? To save cost of having to maintain a building and a location and electricity costs and all of those things. That's typically when a company will migrate to a cloud solution like Azure, AWS, because it saves them lots of money from having to maintain their own server infrastructure, right? As far as an on-premises infrastructure. And that's just one example, and is that something you'd be able to do to help them migrate from that physical infrastructure to a cloud-based one? Is that something you even know how to do? You know what I mean? These are all real life things that, like, once you actually get on the job and you're working daily, these are things you'll see like, oh, the company has to do this. And now there's a large effort where we have to migrate from, what we're using. Like, for example, in my last role working for CBS, we had to migrate from PCF, which is Pivotal Cloud Foundry, to Azure, right? And so I didn't have any experience doing that, but it wasn't even actually my task. It was a task. It was us working with the team. It was us working on the product, an internal tool that another team that was the migration team had to interface with us in order to figure out how to go about migrating, since we were actively developing and managing the current tool inside of the on-premises infrastructure. They had to interface with us to migrate that infrastructure over into a cloud-based infrastructure, right? So migrate our app from Pivotal Cloud Foundry to being hosted on Azure and being cloud-based. So and that's something you see if you go look at some of these jobs. Like if I leave this page right now and pull up another job posting page, you'll see lots of jobs relating to migration, right? Help us migrate from this to Azure, or help us migrate to AWS, or so these are things that companies need to do. But how can the company know if you have the experience to do it? There's not you can't really have a project that serves as an example to say that, hey, here's an example project that shows I know how to migrate a project from, a physical infrastructure to a cloud-based one. That's more of something you literally have to create a tutorial video, create a walkthrough, and then walk yourself, make a video of you walking the audience through how you migrate an example application that you already have hosted somewhere, and then migrate that over to AWS. So I'm giving you guys game if you really just sit back and listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling you guys how you can actually demonstrate these skills if you're trying to get these positions, because trying to sit here and beg and say, oh, nobody's giving me a chance, nobody cares about that. Nobody cares of that. This is going to be your first gig and you're just looking for a shot. Nobody, this is all capitalism and this is just the market, right? So, and in the market, companies compete. So a company doesn't have time to sit here and babysit someone. They have money to make. So if they're going out shopping for someone that has a skill that they need so they can produce a product or get to a solution, no one's looking at you if you're saying, "Hey, I'm just looking for a shot." I'm looking for someone saying, "Hey, I've done this before. I can do this in my sleep." And then at the very end, if you say, "Yeah, but this would be my first official role, but I've done this, and here's an example of how I've done this, just in case you want to see." That's how you apply for these positions because, like I said, you're going to get skipped right over for someone who has the accolades, has the degree, and has the experience. you know so you guys have to start realizing this. If you keep going about it the way you're going about it, you're going to be begging for a job for the rest of your days until AI eventually puts us all out of a job. You know what I mean? Because the clock is already ticking now that AI is here. The clock is already ticking. I mean AI is heavily integrated into my workflow, to the point where a lot of you, I can honestly say a lot of you guys who think you're developers or think you're going to be engineers or think you're programmers or whatever the case may be, a lot of you guys are delusional. I'm going to just put it out there, especially if you're not actively building a product or personal project that's long term and that demonstrates a lot of different skills, right? Meaning it's a fairly complex project, then you might as well start looking at something else, dude. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you because with the way AI is moving and with the rate at which it is moving at, there's not going to be a bunch of like just, I want to say, low tier development jobs available for you guys. Like, hey, can you guys come help with this migration? Like, something like that. And there's still going to be positions available, but something like, hey, can you help me, with this front end website? Or a lot of the front end jobs, they're going to disappear like that and dissipate. A lot of the like UI stuff, even a lot of the design stuff, um, it's going to start to dissipate very fast because design work is already being outsourced to different tools. Even the tool Devon, I think, has already made a bunch of strides, and I think they've actually released I'm not sure if it's actually been released yet, but I know that they've been testing it a lot, and that thing is a beast now. Well, back when OpenAI and everything was just kind of coming out back in 2023, things were a little bit different. But Devon now has lots of capabilities as far as coding and technical implementation. So, and like I said, and like I said, I use AI every single day, and the results that I get from AI just based off of the prompt engineering that I do. I mean, dude, AI it's extremely powerful, So, and I'm not saying it's more powerful than the human or the human body or the human brain, right? I still think that we can do amazing things, as well as AI, right? We can do amazing things and still keep up with technology, right? Because we did, after all, create this technology. But all I'm saying is that it's going to take a lot more than you thinking like, hey, I just need to, do a boot camp, and things have changed. Essentially, is what I'm saying. You can't just do a boot camp and have a couple of example projects on your GitHub or on your portfolio and think that's enough. You need to be coding every single day. You need to have at least 10 to 12 commits per day on your GitHub repository if you have one, right? You need to be contributing to open source code as much as you can, all right? Because that is how you get the experience if you don't currently have experience or if you've never worked in the industry before. If you've never worked in the industry as a developer or a software engineer and you're coming from another industry, right? Or you're trying to level up into this industry from retail or something like that, or you're trying to, whatever the case may be, you need to outwork everyone else who's been here before you. Okay? I've been coding. I used to drive for DoorDash for 7 years. I didn't just switch from DoorDash and say, "Hey, I want to be a coder now." I was all while I was DoorDashing, I was very heavily invested in technology. I was coding on the side. I was learning constantly, right? I was more learning about computer security around that time, and then that eventually transitioned over into learning coding as a result of having to learn to program to be a better technologist and uh a better what's the term? Security researcher, right? Because that's where I got my start in my tech career. That's where it all started for me. Of course, I was tech savvy my whole life. Of course, we all have that thing where it's like, oh, you're the one in your family who is always working with the technology, setting up TVs, computers, things. I was always that guy too, of course. Always had a knack for just technical things. But that security researcher, getting on Bug Crowd, things like that, that's what actually ignited my career, right? So to what it is to become what I am today. And so we've been live for about 23 minutes. I feel like this one is getting a little long-winded. We don't have anybody in the chat right now, so there's no questions that I can answer for you guys. But tomorrow, we'll have a different topic for you guys. Today, this is more of just a rant and more of just me trying to start getting into the habit of making sure I do these lives every single day. Because there's a lack of content regarding coding that actually helps you guys to become what you're looking to become. I see people on here talking about, you know, this and that, and talking about what you should be focused on, and you should be focused on these type of jobs, Shopify and email jobs, or whatever the case may be. Those things don't help you to improve your skills in all of this, trying to go for, yeah, it's like a lot of these guys are trying to teach you to go for the low hanging fruit. Yeah, bro, just learn HTML, CSS and go for the email job. There's lots of them out there. It's like, that's cool and that's fine, but it's like, at a certain point, that's going to become oversaturated if it already isn't, because it's low hanging fruit, you know? Think about it like this. If I'm already someone who's developing apps, and in React Native, right? I'm building Telegram bots in Telegram, right? I'm building, um, I'm building full stack applications, um, which have Stripe integration and have authentication and, have Swagger API enablement. So we're making API calls. So if I'm building applications like that just in my spare time, you don't think that someone like me, and then, like I said, I'm using React Native to build mobile apps. I'm using React. I'm using Next.js, the framework. I'm using um I'm using Vue.js, the framework. I'm using Angular, the framework, right? I'm using Node.js in the backend. I'm using Express along with that, right? I'm using Flask, right? Whenever for my Python Telegram apps, I'm using Flask on the back end, right? So we can go all day long, because when you have someone who actually codes, this is what it's going to sound like. It's going to sound like they know exactly what they're talking about, right? Because they actually build things. A lot of these guys are on here talking, spewing at you. This is what you should be doing, but they don't really have the first off, they don't even have the credentials. Just because you had a developer job for a big name like Shopify or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean you are automatically verified and accredited to be on here giving advice to other aspiring engineers or other folks in the industry, or even folks who are not in the industry, about the subject, just because you had a job in any industry. I think people get confused about that. I'm actually certified twice in the cloud, both Azure and AWS. And I've also, along with that, I've worked for CVS as a software engineer, right? For almost 2 years. So, I mean, I know what I'm talking. And besides that, you can go and look at my profile and look at the plethora of apps that I've actually developed. And you'll see that I don't have anything to lie about, right? So, but a lot of these guys, you got to start verifying their credentials, because they're just telling you stuff and you're listening, not even questioning if that's the best information for you or if that's the best route you should take, so, and a lot of you guys aren't using AI to even verify information. Like AI is the best Google you can ever use. So if somebody tells you like, hey, you should be focusing on getting email jobs, go to ChatGPT. It's free. Go to ChatGPT or whatever AI, Perplexity, whatever, and put that same question in there and give some context to your situation and say, hey, is this good? Should I be focused on this? Or, what are the potential drawbacks of focusing on this? And you'll probably see oversaturation. You just have to start thinking with common sense. So anyways, and like I said, I can show you my messages. I'm about to actually check these messages right now because I haven't logged on to LinkedIn since November something. So cause like I said, I was so focused on my other work. I'm also on Upwork quite a bit. So I do contract work gigs on Upwork. So I'm always busy. I'm not ever on LinkedIn just begging for a position or begging for a job. And these people who message me, they understand and know that I'm kind of a hot commodity because of how I act. And to some people, it might seem like, oh man, you know, you're not really hungry as I'm hungry. It's just that I know my worth, right? And I'm not gonna let somebody say and treat me like I need them when I know in fact that I'm valuable and the skill set that I bring and whatever what I bring to the table is highly valuable, you know? And so and also besides that, I can make money on my own. I can create products. So if you guys want to learn how to do that, how to create products instead of projects, please check out aidevnow.com. I have courses there. There's a bunch of different ones. Right now, I think we only have one available, but I'm considering squeezing everything into one large course and increasing the price. But I don't want to do that because I know most of you guys, some of you guys, aren't going to be able to afford that price. Like $1,000 to $2,000 for the course. So I'm trying to break up all the information as much as I can to do individual courses that are like $100, and then maybe we'll do like some smaller courses than that, some mini courses for those folks who like I said, who may not have the budget to even afford the $100 courses. But if you can't afford $100 to invest in yourself, I mean, you probably should just start saving up your money, to be quite honest. But I am gonna come out with those. I'm gonna see about coming out with some cheaper courses and breaking those down 25, $30 so everybody can get access to the information. Um, and yeah, and I think it will go ahead. We're coming up on 30 minutes here. I think this was a very good session. Like I said, while I go live, I'm not going to be checking my messages obviously while I go live. Um, and I guess I can. I guess there's nothing wrong with doing that, but I'm not going to show you guys my messages while I'm checking them. So let me actually scroll over here, and I'll scroll over to this page right here. Okay. And so, we'll leave it right here and we'll scroll down a bit so you guys can see the course. So like I said, like I said, I'm just checking my messages right now. I'm going to check a few of these. Um, like the last one is from January 25th. Let's see. Are you currently exploring new job opportunities? If so, I can introduce you to some of LinkedIn's tools to help with your search. Okay, so that's from LinkedIn Leadership. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's see. Are you looking for your next role? Okay, this looks like a something that's more of like, okay, so this looks like a job search engine and someone's giving me an offer to take a look at. Could be interesting, could be something beneficial for helping you guys find out about more jobs. Let me see. It's called Mobius Engine. It's a human-based service, no AI bots. Um, I believe it helps you set up real-time job interviews a lot faster. So it's called MobiusEngine.ai. You guys can check it out. I'm not going to check it out right now, but you guys can check it out if you guys want to. I'm not endorsing it at all. Just giving you guys the information as it comes in here into my threshold. So be careful. Check the link out with Total Virus Scan if you need to make sure the URL is legit. So you guys don't get scammed or anything, or what have you. But that is the website. Let's see. Full stack lead developer, Next.js, Kotlin. Let's see. So full stack lead developer thinks I can be a great fit. Happy to set up a call. Yes, I am interested. Let's set up a call. So what I do with a lot of these positions is I tell them, hey, let's set up a call. And what I do is I actually link them to I link them to my website. Right, I have a website which acts as a software engineering agency where I offer my services as a subscription to anyone who would be looking to utilize them. It is $1,000 a month to start, and for the MVP plan, it's about $3,500 per month. So we do offer our services. I do offer my services, and like I said, all of that can be found at I only promote that via LinkedIn. Normally, I don't really promote that via my YouTube since it goes directly to my LinkedIn profile and whatnot, and I don't want you guys harassing me. So yeah, that's mostly like B2B. So whenever I'm giving somebody the link to my actual website for my agency, I'm usually talking to a business or a company representative. With YouTube, with you guys being mostly I don't want to say retail, but you guys mostly being consumer level folks and individuals. If someone hits me up privately and he wants to discuss a potential work opportunity, cool, we can maybe disclose it at that time. But I don't really like putting out certain information in the public domain. But yeah. So, anyways, I'll usually link them to my website, and on the website there's a button where you can actually book a call. So I'll link them to that, and I'll link them to the actual website itself so they can book a call and view my portfolio. Um, and then yeah, so it makes it a lot easier from them having to send me, an invite, or we have us having to keep going back and forth before we act. So I just send them a link to my Calendly to book a call. That way we can just get it set up right away and discuss if I'm actually a fit and what the next steps would be. Let's see. Boom, I shared that. So sometimes I share my contact. With LinkedIn, you have to be careful with LinkedIn because sometimes there can be it can be a little bit. I'm not sure how these folks get on LinkedIn, but there have been some scammers in my inbox. So you want to be careful because there are some folks who are not of who don't have honest intentions on LinkedIn, who are just trying to get your information. So there's another job for a senior, or another role here for a senior Java developer. This will be a hybrid position, 3 days a week from office. Duration will be 6 to 12 months. I believe it will be a contract. The description for this role will be 5+ years of hands-on experience with solid Java Spring Boot with REST API development. Experience in implementing solutions using Java, Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Batch, and Spring Cloud. Don't let these descriptions scare you off. I mean, Java and Spring Boot are all they're not the same thing, but they're all essentially in cahoots. So if you know Java and you know Spring, you probably should know Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Batch, and Spring Cloud because they're all simply adaptations of the Spring framework. So, and Spring is, like I said, it's a Java framework. So you should know all of those things. If you know Java and Spring. Experience in microservices implementation in Spring Boot RESTful API, AWS Lambda with Java, EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service, AWS API Gateway, Kafka, JavaStream, Swagger, which I mentioned earlier, being how you document your API, SQL JUnit, which is used for testing, SQL, which is a language for databases, AWS Git API REST, cloud native web development experience. That just means you're used to developing apps. Um, in starting out inside of the cloud. So like for example, if you were developing an application as opposed to having a database, you would just start out using serverless functions like with AWS Lambda, for example. That's like an example of that. Experience in development of integration solutions, that will be a definite plus. Integration solutions, um, this just simply means that if you have knowledge about different integrations, of different technologies that could maybe be an addition to their current tech stack, right? So let me know if you're interested in apply. So yeah, this is seems like a good one. Yes, I am interested. Let's set up a call to discuss more. Have over 13 years experience. Then I put my link in there. Boom. Link to Infinite MVP. And I always put the link to I always put the link to, like I said, I always put the link to, you know, my I always put the link to my agency because, if someone doesn't want to hire me for a job, then maybe they'll want to hire me um to do contract work for them, right? On a subscription basis. Because it's very cheap for a company to use $1,000 to get engineering work done on a monthly basis, right? Um, so we'll send that out. Bam. Let's see. We have another one here. This one looks like, hmm, currently seeking a strong Python engineer to help us make the world a better place. One public service. Oh, I didn't mention earlier, but when I was mentioning Flask, that's pertaining to Python backend development. Okay, when I mentioned Flask you can develop on the front end and back end, or I'm sorry, Python you can develop uh microservices and APIs, things of that nature. You can create a lot of things using Python. It's a very versatile language. Um, you'll still need a front end though. I want to be clear about that. Like Python is mostly used for like APIs, mostly a lot of back end working with data, that kind of work. It's not really used for like displaying data and things like that's more of like front end stuff. So you can use JavaScript for both front end and back end development, but Python it's mostly for back end development. If I'm wrong on that, somebody correct me, but that's just been my experience. So we're seeking a strong Python engineer to help us make the world a better place. Let's see. One public service at a time. In addition to being meaningful work, this position is fully remote forever. Oh man, I like that. You will work on mission-oriented projects, so passion for serving the public through civic tech is essential. We like using agile workflows and cloud technologies. You can read more about us in our openings at not at okay, I won't disclose who the job offer is from. If you're open to hearing more, please respond with your resume, pronouns, and any accommodations you'd like to request during the interviews and your answers to the following eligibility questions, of course. Alrighty. You know what I don't like about this? Like that was totally unnecessary. But I'm not gonna mention it. So anyways, yep, so that was that one. I'll reply to that one in just a sec. I have to actually answer some questions to reply to that one, so I'll save that one. This is a sponsored one, so we'll go ahead and delete that. Get rid of the sponsored ones. Okay, let's see here. We have another one here. Let's see. Full stack engineer. This is the MACH full stack engineer. I'm not sure what MACH is. Um, okay, so microservices, API, first cloud native headless full stack engineer. So that I've never heard that term before. So microservices API, first cloud native headless full stack engineer. You will be responsible for designing and developing microservices that are exposed through REST endpoints that support high volume and low latency on a cloud infrastructure. So yes. So this simply means if you're an MACH engineer, it simply means that you're a cloud native engineer. All right. And so if you're going to apply for this role, you want to essentially have lots of cloud experience, which I do, which is probably why they reached out to me. So I'm going to be responding to that one. But I think this one here has a bunch of this one here requires a little bit more of a response from me than just a typical, let's discuss more. We are working to fill an angular. Here's a little bit of a easier one, guys. So you see how like I get job offers from like the complete spectrum. So you get like the full stack positions, you get the cloud native positions, right? MACH engineer, all the way down to the Angular UI lead developer role, right? And this is, like I said, anything where it's just like Angular front end UI work, I mean, that's child's play. I don't mean to sound egotistical or like I'm just too big for my britches, but like I said, I've spent a lot of time or invested a lot of time into learning this skill set and developing this skill set, both on my own through official accredited institutions and obtaining the certifications, and also through official institutions in their boot camps, and through experience with official organizations like CVS Health, so which is the top 10 healthcare company. So this position, it says here, we're working to fill Angular UI lead developer with a direct client of ours. Please respond in case you're interested. So this one is very simple. Um, oh man. So yeah, if you don't have an official website as an engineer that people can go to and contact you, like I have a website and my email address at that website. So if you don't have that, I mean, if you just have a Gmail or whatever the case may be, I mean, it doesn't make you look like I want to give this guy six figures. You got to think about that. Like if you're not willing to invest, I mean, it costs $30 to, well, not even that. It costs like $20 to get yourself a website, domain name, and an email associated with it. And if you're an engineer or a web developer, all you have to do then is attach make yourself a portfolio website and attach your domain to it. Boop, you're done. If you can't do that, then you need to start questioning whether you're actually a developer or whether you're actually presenting yourself in the right way. Because, like I said before, a lot of you guys are like, are begging for jobs and roles, but You're not looking at your competition like people like me and seeing what we're doing and how we're actually getting and how we're actually getting messages and opportunities. It's how we present ourselves. You have to present yourself as if you're an expert, almost like you're faking it till you make it. But when it comes time for the interview and when it comes time for you to actually verify your knowledge, you better be able to walk the walk. I'm not saying just go in there and talk a bunch of nonsense, but you need to be confident first and foremost and put some work behind what you're saying that you know how to do. If you say you know Angular, how many Angular applications have you built, right? And if you've never worked for a company before, if you built an example Angular project, cool. What does it do? And how does that translate over into what you can do for us? Because if you built a simple UI project for Angular, like this Angular UI lead developer role, if I'm showing this person right here, like, hey, I've worked on Angular stuff all my life and I don't have like the experience at a job to show for it, I'm going to build a product in Angular that has users. And if it doesn't have users, it's going to look like it does, right? The product should look like if the person that's going to be is that's reaching out to you, if they click on your website or your product and go to it and they try to sign up and make an account, they should be able to do so. And they try to go here and make a purchase, they should be able to do so. So your product should work. That way they can come back to you and say, well, did you build this? You say, yeah. And they can be like, well, how many customers do you have? Or blah, 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 blah. People ask me all the time, like, is this your agency? Yeah. Do you have clients? Of course I do. So that makes me seem like more of a high commodity because one, I'm already making money, right? So you already, as someone who wants to hire me, now you have to think about, okay, what can I use for leverage to get this guy to acquire this person to get them on our team or to work for our client, because they obviously don't need us, right? He doesn't need me, he doesn't need the job. So it's not like, you know what I mean? You want to be in that position. You want to be in the position where you have something to leverage with, not I'm so hungry for a job and I'll do anything, that I'll just take whatever, you know? So, but you can't just make those demands off of nothing, right? I act the way I do because I actually am making money with products that I've built, right? So I'm not just trying to be an a-hole to anyone. I'm very respectful, but I speak from a place of confidence and I extrude confidence because, like I said before, I know and understand my work and what I bring to the table, and I won't let anyone else try and interview or because sometimes during interviews you might get blasted with questions or whatever the case may be, and you might feel like, well, maybe I'm not an expert because I'm not ready for these questions. But you know, engineering work and technology as a whole, I mean, there's so many different niches to go into. We can talk about OPSEC, which is like IT security, and we can talk about coding, but those are just two facets of this whole thing that we call the technology space and this whole field, right? There's a bunch of different fields and jobs that you can go into and like niche roles that you can go into with under this whole I'll just call it a field, right? Of IT. So it encompasses a lot. You know what I mean? So with that being said, don't beat yourself up just because you're getting grilled in an interview and someone thinks that, oh, you didn't answer all of the questions the way they wanted you to answer, so now your confidence is shot and you don't think that you should, maybe you got to go back and because you don't know enough. Don't think like that. Just always walk into these places with confidence about what you do know and what you can do, and you have to stand strong on that. And anything that you have to work on, um, or get more knowledge on, just be honest and truthful about it. Because honestly, you don't have something. It's not like you walk around. Nobody walks around and has just a bunch of coding, technical knowledge and information just sitting at the forefront of their brain, ready to answer a question that somebody pops off. It's unrealistic, which is why I don't like a lot of these interviews. But if you ask me, hey, how would I go about building an application in Angular if the instructions were this, and this? You should be able to answer that question and say, hey, well, I would start like this. I would lay it out, organize my code base, right? All, you know what I'm saying? Organize how I'm going to structure all of my different, all of my directories, right? All of my code, um, all of my set up an environment, right? Ensure I don't have any dependency issues. Make sure I understand which versions of things I'm going to be using depending on what my tech stack is, making sure that those versions of those different things actually align with each other, for example, like Angular, like for example, like when you're using Node, um, or React or npm, you want to make sure your Node version matches up with a particular package that you're using, right? Because if that doesn't match up, then now you have you just imported a new package. And now that package has dependency issues with another dependency inside of your package.json. Now you got to figure out, okay, now your application is probably connected. Okay, we got connected back. So we'll go ahead and wrap the stream up here. For anyone who tuned in or who catches this live later on, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys check out aidevnow.com. There's courses there that will help you guys out for all of your development aspirations and learning to code and whatnot. And make sure you guys subscribe to the channel for more coding content. We're going to be pushing out daily content on this channel and going live daily as well. So you don't want to miss the live sessions where we're actually coding and building things out. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to get some experience and to get some things added to your portfolio list. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, keep coding.